Hello, good morning. Good morning, Shelly Bays. Oh, I got you on mute.
Not more.
There we go. Good morning. How are you, Millie?
Good. I'm good. A little tired today, but had a really exhausting day yesterday. But we're up and we're off.
Awesome. Well, welcome to all of you that are on the Facebook group that are watching us. I'm going to put you on mute, Millie. Okay.
Yes.
For those of you that are following us on the Facebook group, thank you for hanging in there with us online. And I know we've had lots of questions come in, which is great. We have downloaded or uploaded the workbook for today's challenge. So it is already online. And oh, Jess looks like a Barbie doll. I love that picture. So we are going to lead you through day 2. And the object for this is, if you've already accomplished day 1, you're going to get more momentum out of today's challenge, right? So if you are on here, I'd love to just start off, Shelly, to see what some feedback has been for people from yesterday's challenge, what they've learned. And I know maybe Glennis is going to hop on here too, or Andrea and Jess. Maybe we can ask them to start that off. Anyone?
Bear with me. I got a fussy baby. I'm trying to get down for a nap.
Oh,
but
goodness.
Yesterday, I thought it was very, very helpful, especially the worksheets. I took the time, and instead of doing like my daily little reading, I decided to work on that little packet that Shelly was nice enough to put together. And even just because I know that I saw an individual post about, just starting their business as well on the page yesterday. And I can say, as personally as someone who is just starting, that worksheet alone, I feel, was enough to start at a, base questions where I could really start from somewhere, because I don't know what questions to ask. So those questions that Shelly provided was very, very helpful, and me even just getting a starting point where I just ran with it, and it was really productive. So
that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I think, it's the action steps, right? Because some of it just looks like, oh, okay, that's just another workbook, and will I do it? And will it really make a difference? And I think that's the thing, right? When we do a process and we break it down, that structure is what really gives us the framework to get that confidence built. And so congratulations for just diving into it. That's awesome. But you, Millie.
So this really made me revisit the things that I'm doing, the why, because sometimes our why can be broad. We allow it to be broad, and that can cause us to run in different directions and get overwhelmed. So just participating yesterday and going through the workbook and going through the homework, it made me revisit my why and how I am bringing my why to pass, so to speak. So it allows me to think about how I can fine tune that, keep chipping away at it so that it becomes something that's more manageable. So because, like Shelly said yesterday, make it simple. And so simple sometimes means we have to downsize in a sense, because we can't, starting with picking a topic for the month, things like that, being a little bit more structured. But as you know, I'm a pastor, so I'm doing so many different things. I'm involved in so many different things. And, one of my voices of reason is my husband. You're so tired because you're doing too many things at one time. Don't do so many things, and it's true. We do that. We do this because we want to say yes to everything. We can't say yes to everything. So I loved it because it forced me to go back kind of to the drawing board in a sense, and love it because the title says scale. Scale it down a little bit. Scale it down to something that's more exact and more manageable.
I love that, Millie. I mean, and you're absolutely right. Scaling can go both ways. Sometimes it is scaling down to become more clear, and sometimes it is getting bigger. You know, we want to grow things. So you have to know when's the right time to scale which way. So that's a great insight. Thank you for sharing that.
That was great. That's why we go back to the foundation, right? Because we can all say, oh, well, I've already done all of that, or I've done that before and that didn't work. And so you start putting these kind of fears on your own self, the doubt that you have that, well, I've already tried that and it didn't work last time. But really, it's taking it all apart, deconstructing what you want to accomplish, and then just starting again, very baby steps, one thing at a time, and building it to where you can get that consistency. And I think that's the part that when you start syncing it up, you go, oh, that's something that is easy now for me to do. I don't even have to think about it. But it's a process, absolutely a process. Glennis, we were just sharing about yesterday, and I know you were looking at the workbook and stuff. What were your feelings about where you are right now, and then the application for any of the exercises from yesterday?
Yeah, thank you, Melanie, and thank you, Shelley, too. I was looking at the exercises and yeah, as you mentioned, I have seen those questions before. What is your target audience? What are the platforms you're using? Who is your niche? I know we've learned that in the Maxwell team too, but this actually clarifies it a little bit more to really get focused and laser focused on what you're doing and to do things with intention, right? So I was able to think and reconfirm that my niche audience is parents mainly of youth, because it is the youth, but the youth won't register themselves immediately. It's the parents that I need to first speak with. It is youth between the ages of 10 to 14 mainly that my courses are designed to right now. And the platforms that I'm using, I already do use Instagram, Facebook, and then a little bit of TikTok too. So it's just getting real clarity on what to use. But then I also think that, I need to use a little bit of LinkedIn sometimes too. So yeah, it is a little bit of a, I guess when you attend a course like this, you kind of get a little more laser focused. So I was able to get some focus. So I thank you for that.
Wonderful. That's awesome. That just makes me light up to hear you dynamic women who are all already either starting or running businesses, are definitely into personal and professional growth, or you wouldn't be here. And the fact that you're gaining value through what we're doing that just lights me up.
We're here to serve. Yes.
So are we ready to jump into day 2?
Yes, let's go for it.
Because one of the things that you just mentioned, Glennis, has everybody had the opportunity to download day 2's workbook? It is on the Facebook group. If you haven't downloaded it, it's there. And then we'll be uploading day 3 later today for tomorrow. So I am going to pull it up on my screen and we can go through it there. But if you have it in front of you, then that would be great as well. That way
I just
you
had a quick
can.
question though, because I know it said day 2, but yesterday we were on day 1, so that just confused me a little bit. Because
Well, we didn't upload day 1 until after the Zoom meeting.
Oh.
a little snafu there.
Yeah.
So day 1 and day 2 both got uploaded yesterday.
Okay.
All right. So here we go. Day 2 is about our, oops, I'm gonna have to move my windows around a little, my little things around a little bit, so that I can, there we go. Day 2 is targeting the right platform or platforms. And the 4 parts that we're going to talk about today are demographics, competitors, content creation comfort level, and then goals and experimenting. So this is going to hopefully answer some questions. We've done some homework for you to help to speed up or scale the process of learning, and hope that this helps you all. So what are your and social media platform demographics? Because we have to know both, right? We have to know what our ideal client demographics are. And in order to make conscious, intentional, best choices, we also need to know what the platform demographics are. And so we listed here the top 5 platforms where advertising and social selling is a part of it. And then we're going to go through a cross-reference example. So number 1, and yesterday, one of the things we asked you to do in an exercise was to identify your ideal client demographics. You know, what age are they? What is the gender? Income level? Because depending on what you're selling, you know, if you're in the coaching space or training space, then you may be looking for people who are at a certain income level so they can afford your services. If you're selling products, it may be a product that, if it's a high-end product, then likely you're going to be looking at a demographic again of someone who is in a higher income level. If it's like Jess has these craft kits, I'm not sure what she's going to be pricing them at, but likely her income level is not going to be as high as someone who's selling crystal, you know, hand-blown glass work, things like that are higher end priced. And then consumption habits. And consumption is not how much food we eat. Consumption habits are based around where do they buy, how do they buy, and what platforms are they on, and for how long, what time, how often. Those are the consumption habits that we need to be focused on. So part 2 here, and if you have some paper, you might want to get ready to take some notes. The platform demographics. But before we move into that, Melanie, do you have anything to add here?
I think this is one of the most important things you can do, because sometimes we think, well, just because our friends that may support our businesses are on Facebook, that's where our clients are. And so I really want you guys to really think about who you are serving. Glennis, I just heard you say, you know, you're more a parent. You need to really connect more to the parents of the 10 to 14-year-olds. Well, those may be on different platforms than what you might think.
Right.
So that's where you have to get really specific with this exercise. And I think what you'll learn is a lot from it. So that's my 2 cents. Just hang in there.
So I have a question, Glennis. If you could kind of give us a little bit of back. So your client, your end user is 10 to 14 because you're working with youth. And but their parents are the ones who are going to bring you into. Do you do individual coaching, group coaching? Do you do youth programs like within school districts, church groups? How are you providing your service?
So I do I do school workshops too. I speak to schools and I have sessions for school students, but the ones that I have on my own are just the ones on Zoom that I've been doing, and they are I need to sell them, I need to market them because they are my own courses. So I'm not having it through a church or anything like that.
Okay. And I'm asking that, and I appreciate your transparency, because I'm asking that because I think I want to use you as the cross-reference example when we get down here. So I'm going to give you guys some stats on the different platforms, and these were current as of about February of 2022. And you might be shocked at some of these stats. Facebook, current users 2.91 billion worldwide. The largest group, the largest cohort on Facebook at 31.5% is the age demographic of 25 to 34. So that age group is still a big part of Facebook. And gender, 43% female. Time spent daily on Facebook. On average, the average user is on Facebook 33 minutes a day. Now, figuring out when they are on there is a whole different thing. But all right, Instagram, 2 billion users. We know that they are a part of the metaverse of Facebook, Instagram. They are currently at 2 billion users. The largest cohort at 31.2% is age 25 to 34. And the second largest cohort at 31% is 18 to 24. 48.4% female, and the average time spent on Instagram per day per user is 29 minutes. The next one is LinkedIn. LinkedIn has currently about 810 million users, and the largest demographic at 58.4% is age 25 to 34. 48% of the LinkedIn users are female. 63% of LinkedIn users access their account weekly, 22% daily. And then Twitter, 211 million users. Largest cohort at 42% is age 18 to 29. 38.4% are female, and the average time spent on Twitter by a user is 31 minutes a day. And then finally, and I think this is a very underutilized platform. I love this platform, and frankly, I haven't been using it enough. And I'm starting to see that through preparing to do this challenge and getting these numbers together. So Pinterest, 431 million users. The average age is 50 to 64 years old. That's 38% of their users. 78% are female, and they spend 14.2 minutes a day on Pinterest. 45% of the users on Pinterest have an average household income above $100,000. Now, these are some, and they are a growing platform still. Twitter is starting to lose users. Facebook is net zero on growth the last 3 years. Instagram is growing. TikTok is exploding. And here's something else. On TikTok, the biggest cohort is 10 to 19 years old. And the fastest growing cohort on TikTok is 50 to 64. Now, TikTok isn't in your list there, but they do have 1 billion users, 61% female. And the average TikTok user, 89 minutes a day, an hour and a half a day spent on TikTok over the course of a day. Now, what do these statistics do for us? Well, they give us information. And when we can cross-reference and marry that up with who our ideal demographic is, our ideal client, then we have a much better way to gauge how and where we're going to spend our time, effort, and invest in different platforms. So Glennis, if it's okay with you, I'd kind of like to use your ideal client and kind of challenge you on a couple of things with that and see if that makes any sense. Are you okay with that?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. So you said that your ideal client, actually, the end user is 10 to 14,
Yes,
but they don't have the cash, right? They're not going to pay for your services. Their parents are. So where we can assume that a 10 to 14-year-old, their parents are going to probably be somewhere between 30 and 50, right?
right.
And women, we know, make the majority of buying decisions in a household. But here's the catch for you. I personally, if I were you, I would be doing TikTok. I would be doing some videos on TikTok directed at 10 to 14-year-olds and what you do and how you can help them.
Mm-hmm.
Fun videos, though. It's got to be something that grabs their attention immediately. And then they will, because they're going to drive their parents to you if they see that they can be a part of your community where you are helping kids grow.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I would challenge you to think about. So you may have to be on a couple different platforms with different types of content.
Right.
And ooh, I can just see that taken off. Melanie, I see you. I can see the wheels spinning. I want to hear what you got to add.
Well, I love this because when you think about, being creative, it's like, well, I'm communicating my message. It goes back to day one, right? So what are you actually saying and how are you saying it? So if you thought about a 10 to 14-year-old receiving your message from a 50-some-year-old woman, right? It's like, I can serve you because here are all the great things that you're going to learn about yourself. And kids, remember that brain capacity that they have. So they don't really have that confidence yet to understand how we communicated as adults. So we have to go back to their why, like what do they really trust and what can they expect to get out of, is their peer going to also accept what you're doing? And are there, making them feel like they're peer groups, right? Because they want to be included. Kids want to be included and they want to know that it's the hot thing. And so coming up with something creative that is, you're missing out. The fear of missing out, like you are missing it if you are not getting these established rules or beliefs about your life right now. And so figuring out how that looks to them to just get them like so fired up that they can't wait to see what you have to teach them.
And
Mm.
I would also add there, I would seek out some of the kids that you have served and, make them part of your volunteer army as far as getting the word out and how much fun they have.
Right.
Because I'm assuming that you're using the Maxwell Leadership Youth Max
Yes.
okay. So there's a lot of fun exercises I know that you're doing with them. And they're learning character traits and how to build character through fun methods. So they're learning, but they're having fun. So having some of your alumni of your program help you with the TikToks. And again,
Yeah.
that goes back to, again, reaching out, being willing to ask and thinking about, this isn't about me. I need to be providing content that enriches and is for my end user. And what I think they want to hear may not be at all what they want to hear. And you might even consider doing a little focus group with some of your alumni about the coolest things that they enjoyed about your program.
Hmm.
That's a great idea,
Because
Jess. She says a lot of ideas just from watching the kids of what they're doing, scrolling through and getting ideas.
Mhm.
Because you know, a lot of the times too, bringing the kids or having them do a little video of what did they learn
Right.
and what how did they use that? You know, maybe you taught them something that they were able to then think through differently when they had a problem.
Mhm.
And
Hmm.
those are the things, those are like the action items that people see results. And if it's coming from a kid, right?
Yes.
You can then that exemplifies like this is working. It's not just about me wanting to help
Right.
them, but it's these kids that are really changing their character on how they're making decisions.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Awesome. All right. So my little example in your workbook is, if my ideal client is 25 to 34, a woman with annual income of 35,000 plus, some college, and makes independent buying decisions, then I'm probably going to choose Instagram first as my primary platform, and then Pinterest, depending on what I'm selling. I mean, so this is all, again, going back to what is your product or service and where do your people live? And then the other thing, it's a little harder. You're just going to have to do some homework. It's going to take some work to figure these things out. And one way that you can kind of figure some things out is knowing what your competitors are doing. So we don't want to copy our competition, but we do need to look at what they're doing that is successful for them. And then where are the gaps that we can capitalize on if we're in the same market, whether it's B2B, B2C, B2G, I don't care what it is, your competitors are doing the same things you are. They are trying to figure out the best way to reach their audience and to gain credibility and trust so that people will come to them to buy their product or service. So studying your competitors shows you where and how you can differentiate your brand for maximum impact. And then things to look for. How long has this competitor been on the platform? How often do they post? How much engagement did they get? And these are easy to see because every platform puts the engagement numbers right at the bottom of every post. And is their audience growing? So if you do spot checks on your top competitors over time, you'll be able to see the trend of whether or not their followers are growing, staying level, or diminishing. And how many followers do they have? I mean, that's a big question. And you have to be careful because sometimes some of these companies hire AI experts and use bots to ramp up their followers, their numbers. So they may not even be real people. So, just be aware. And there are ways to check that out. We don't have time to go into that today, but just know that if you see one of your competitors and they seem to have extremely high numbers of followers, that's something I would probably be a little bit skeptical of. If they're much, much higher than everybody else in the category is what I'm saying. You may have somebody out there who has AI bots that are creating followers for them.
Mm-hmm. I would
Mhm.
say I'll just add something here.
Mhm.
When I've had lots of people that as you're starting this whole journey of like, oh, I don't know where to show up on social media, so you do compare a lot of the things that you're doing, and you'll see maybe a post of someone out of the blue, they'll do something exactly like you, and you'll get 14 people to pay attention, to say a like or a comment. And yet this other person will do the exact same thing and they'll have 55,000 likes, right? That's an example. And so what happens is, that was part of what Elon Musk was suffering with Twitter is like you don't have very solid information there when people are using these types of systems to get fake likes. it's not really serving them on their back end to grow their business. So you can't really evaluate a company on likes, but what you can do is understand how they are, I guess the width of their company, right? The depth and their width of their company. How do they serve? What products do they really serve across their platforms is what you want to get down to, not just how many likes they are showing on their Instagram post. So that's the thing that I really want you to pay attention to, because it can get really confusing, as you're starting this.
And I would encourage you to, for the exercise of trying to figure out where you stand within a category and size, don't go out and look for the biggest. I mean, if you're a John Maxwell leadership coach, don't go look at John Maxwell's page. Look for other coaches who are about the size you are, been in the business about as long as you have. If you're in retail sales, and you have a store and your annual sales are $1 million, then look for competitors who are a little bigger than you are and see what they're doing. If you're in the insurance business or the real estate business, again, look at the agents who are a little bigger than you, because they're already where you want to go, and see what they're doing and what looks like it's working. And then look for those gaps, places that you can capitalize to differentiate yourself and your brand. But we don't want to look at people the same size as us, because they're not where we want to be. They're where we're at. But you also don't want to necessarily go way bigger than you, because scaling can go fast. But to go, quantum leaping is, depending on your product or service, whether you're manufacturing something, there's a lot of factors there. But for now, I would just encourage you to look at competitors who are a little bigger than you. What's your next leap going to look like? And what level of income, how many people you're serving. And those are the people you want to go look at out there. Questions, comments? All right, I'm going to move on then. So the next thing we're going to talk about is, what is your level of comfort in creating content? What kinds are you comfortable creating? Blog posts, social media posts, live and recorded videos, reels, newsletters. We typically, we're not an expert or feel really comfortable in every area of what it takes to put ourselves out there in the world for advertising. I personally have a real challenge with, I have to really step out of my comfort zone to do lives. Even this, because I feel like, ooh, how do I look? How do I sound? And what I really figured out was that people just want to see and hear the real me. And so, getting out of my own head is what I really encourage you to do. Just do it anyway. Reels, those are another way to make money too, by the way. Reels on Facebook and Instagram, once you get a certain number of followers, you can get paid for how many views of reels you have. So that's just another little side benefit and an extra stream of revenue. And aren't we all okay with creating additional revenue streams? And then here's a huge question. How many platforms can you realistically run? Because it takes time and effort to create content consistently and monitor your analytics, answer your DMs and the comments on your posts. How many platforms can you realistically do that on and still do your business? But whatever you do, it has to be consistent. And when it comes to social media, consistency equals results. And if you have any experience with this, and I'm telling you from my own personal experience, and this is one of the things I love about Melanie, and how consistent she is with all of her social media, all of her outreach, because you can very quickly slip out of the news feeds if you are not consistently posting content and driving people to your website, or wherever it is, getting them to sign up for your newsletter, whatever that looks like. Melanie, you want to jump in here?
Well, I think don't overcomplicate this,
Mm-hmm.
right? When I was getting on LinkedIn many years ago, I have always reached out to the people that are doing it best. And I interviewed a guy, the LinkedIn guru, Jeff Young, and he shared a ton of stuff about tips and tricks about LinkedIn. So, for certain platforms, that's what I'm always looking to do, is go to the heart of the matter. But he said, 1% of people that are on LinkedIn. So, Shelley, what did you say? LinkedIn has 810 million users.
Mm-hmm.
So 1% post every day. Now, that doesn't seem like, a big percentage. That's a lot of people. Yet that consistency, if you did your social media posting and said, I know exactly what I want to say, and LinkedIn is my target, for example, scheduling those posts out, knowing that you're in that 1% population. And if you're speaking like Glennis, if you were speaking to the parents, your message is going to be different than TikTok, but your message to business owners, parents, grandparents, that have kids from 10 to 14, hey, this is what I'm offering, and still offering the same messaging from, the kids that you've transformed their lives, but creating a special message to that audience and knowing that all you have to do is post one time a day on that. That's where you have to really understand how to use each of the platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And then build the confidence with people that, like Shelley just said here on this, is answering the DMs, being able to say, I'm not posting a ton of stuff on each platform. I'm posting one thing on each platform. And yet now I can respond to kind of the funnel, if you will, right?
Mm-hmm.
So understanding when they respond, what do you want them to do next? So they've responded to a post. Now you take them to your group, or you take them to your event, or you take them to sign up for something, or you take them to a discovery call, right? It's all about,
Or your landing page for your product.
so your landing page for your product, so that they can discover more and learn more about you. And that's where you have to tell your personal story. Once you've captured them in a way from using its content, now they want to get to know who you are. And I would recommend on Instagram, one of the things that I learned was, the highlight section on
Mhm.
Instagram. So taking your post and sharing those into a story is the only way that you can then push it into a highlight. But really being organized about what that highlight section talks about, right? If you have like Jess, if you have a particular product, what does that product look like when you're making it? How do they buy it? There are certain segments that you would want to make sure that they can click on and they can see the history there. But that's just a couple of ways. Like Instagram and LinkedIn are really important to knowing how the dynamics of those work, so that you can be really effective.
Mm-hmm. And for like just with your product, and because your product is tied to a social cause, you're going to want to really be focused in on, personally, and I know you're on TikTok, that's a great platform for you to generate awareness and brand awareness, start creating your brand there. And then Instagram, I think, would probably be the next one that I would say would be a great platform for you and your product because of the demographics and the amount of time that they're spending on there. I mean, TikTok is hour and a half a day, Instagram 30 minutes a day. And that demographic, I mean, 62% of users on Instagram of the 2 billion worldwide is 18 to 34 women, half of them. So I think that's, your target market. So, thinking about things like that and then crafting your content to show what you're doing, how you're doing it, and why you're doing it. And those things, then having your landing page, in all of your comments, go here. I think would be a really great way to start for you on building your brand and creating community, chasing them back into your Facebook group and, having that community. But if you can funnel them into one place or two places, that's then doable. You're not spread so thin trying to manage multiple platforms, and the goal is to drive everybody to one place from all the different platforms, right? Melanie?
Yep.
Thoughts?
No, that's so true. And so having that landing page or having that specific place to send everybody that you can funnel them to that's the key, and figuring out what that needs to look like for you, so it is a process.
But once you get the process down, then it's just tweaking it as time goes, because social media changes, the economy changes, the economy of scale changes things, as well as just the psychology of consumers changes over time. So this is not a one and done. This is I'm going to get my master plan in place, and then I'm going to continue tweaking it as long as I have my business and want to continue to grow it. Would you agree?
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Next big thing, goals and experimenting. Woo, we love this part.
I love this.
So here's more questions, and the exercises that you're going to have for your homework today are pretty much predominantly around these kinds of things. So what are your goals for your content? Again, this is getting you to think into your business. Is it brand awareness? Is it driving traffic to your website or capturing contact information, increasing community engagement, building your audience and developing your brand? What is your goal right now? Because every entrepreneur, every saleswoman, every sales leader in this group is going to be at a different place. And so you have to be thinking about, where am I at right now? What do I need to grow to make the biggest impact now? And then how are you going to track those goals? Is it going to be by followers? Is it going to be by newsletter signups? Conversion of visitor to buyer? Different goals will require looking at different metrics. And then as far as experimenting goes, identify 2 or 3 platforms and then test the results. You have to remember there is a cost of time with this. Creating content, posting content, planning your content, and then monitoring it. And then there's cost of resource, which is how many dollars does it take to produce content? Am I paying a video producer? What is my time worth? Is my time worth $50 an hour, $100 an hour, $250 an hour? I mean, I don't know what you're doing, but you hopefully know what your time is worth. If you don't, please figure that out today, because that helps you to understand things and places where you can delegate out. Maybe you're not that comfortable doing, you don't feel like you're a great writer, and you don't know if your message comes across when you write a blog post or something. You might want to look for a ghostwriter on Fiverr or somewhere else, within your network, somebody that can help you to create content. Because if your time is worth $200 an hour and you can pay somebody $25 or $50 an hour, ROI there to increase your brand awareness and get more followers and more people engage with your content so that you have a bigger audience of potential buyers, then you got to look at these things. Just if you have a service in particular, it's really critical. People with service businesses, and particularly sales, this is an area where most people completely ignore. And the reality is, this is one of the most dynamic areas that as an entrepreneur, as a salesperson, as a sales leader, we need to be focused on. And then performance. How well are you doing towards reaching your objectives and your goals through the social media platforms that you're testing? Melanie?
Mm-hmm. No, this is so critical. Because think about this. If you were in a corporate job, and some people may be in a corporate job and you're doing this side hustle thing, this is no different than any business structure. It's no different. And so just taking it and saying, I have to own every piece of this, you have to get really clear on what you say yes to and what you say no to. And if you don't know how much your time is worth, then you don't know what to say no to, right? You don't know what to say no to because you're like, well, if I learn this, it's going to bring me value. But yet, if you're not learning something that's going to help you in your strength zone, and it's just going to help you learn a task, that task can be delegated. That task can be pushed out. There's a lot of interns that are out there. There are, like Shelley said, Fiverr. There are many groups that have people that can do task. And so sometimes we don't know what our business is doing. And so we like to do the task because we think it's going to help us get clear, when really it's just a distraction of the things that are necessary for us to really perform. So, here's another thing. When we're trying to grow our business, picking up the phone and making calls and introducing ourselves to business owners in their communities, that's a way that we forget because we're like, well, we have to do it all on social media. No, you can actually pick up the phone or actually make a visit in person to establish that relationship. So don't forget that. Don't just depend on social media to identify where you fit and how successful your business is. Just don't forget that.
Right. And this 4-day challenge is circling around increasing your brand in social media. But Melanie is absolutely right. If you are not calendaring in, making a commitment to a certain number of new contacts each and every day, people who either are an ideal client type or someone who can give you referrals to your ideal client type, because there's the circle of trust. And many times our initial sales and our don't come from our closest people. Our family and friends are typically the last ones to buy.
That's a
And
truth.
I don't care what you're selling, if it's insurance, real estate, if it's a product, if it's, I don't, whatever. But so we got to get to that second and third circle where we actually have credibility as an expert and influence from the people who referred us. So that's a whole nother.
Remember, it only takes 10,000 hours for you to do anything to be an expert. 10,000 hours. And so don't think that you're not an expert. If you've been studying what you love and you've been taking this, and building your business or building your dream or oh, I've only done this a little bit every year. Really think about the hours, right? I started to do that recently and realized, oh my gosh, I am such an expert. It gave me such confidence in my own voice to
Mhm.
say, I know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Don't discount yourself when it comes to this and talk about that, right? I've learned this for 25 years, or I've been doing this for 10 years, and really give yourself the credit because
Mhm.
other people are. And so
Mhm.
we as women sometimes just put that in the back burner, like, well, that's what we're supposed to do. Give yourself the credit, have the confidence, step forward and use that voice to tell your story.
Toot your own horn and then find other people to toot your horn for you. But don't be afraid to ask. And that goes back to something we talked about yesterday as well, is the asks. And the ask isn't always for the sale. It's also for help, referrals, testimonials, reviews, those things that help us to build credibility. We need that peer review, those peer testimonials so that other people can see, yeah, we are an expert and we do help people through whatever it is that we do to serve, whether that be a product or a service or a combination. And it is what it is.
Yep. Yep.
All right. It's 10 minutes to the hour. So we're going to get into our homework now for tomorrow.
Yay.
So if you didn't do it yesterday, identify your target audience. And this doesn't have to be down to a super narrow niche. However, it will help you to cross-reference maybe to the platforms that might be the best place for you to start, or to increase your content if you're already on the platform, and thinking about how you're going to direct that content more specifically to your target audience. What stories are you going to share? What advice are you going to give? And then I want you to identify and review 2 to 3 of your competitors, what their online presence is. So those are your 3 tasks for today. Identify your target audience. Cross-reference to the platforms with the numbers that we gave you earlier, and then identify and review 2 to 3 competitors' online presence. So that's exercise number 1. Exercise number 2, thinking in again. This is working on your business, not in your business. This is what this time is. And what are your content goals? And we gave you a list of things earlier. And, is it brand awareness? Is it driving traffic to your website? Is it gaining contact information so you can have a wider newsletter distribution? And then how will you track your goals and what metrics will you use? And finally, really think about what kind of content are you most comfortable creating? Because that's your zone of genius. And that's where you need to be starting out or increasing. Does that mean you don't move into doing some live, stepping out of your comfort zone? If you want to scale, you're going to have to do some things differently than you've done in the past. If you want to grow, you have to do things differently than you've done in the past. I want to say that one more time. If you want to grow, you have to do some things differently than you have done in the past, because what you've done in the past got you to where you are today.
Doing
So
the
you
things.
might want to go and do a live, or just do a video and make a reel out of it. So those are only 30 seconds. If you're not comfortable with your face and your voice and things being out on the internet, start with a reel. They're only 30 seconds to a minute long. I mean, and if you need help, get with somebody else in our community, get with somebody else on the Facebook group, and have some fun doing them together. And,
Do something in the Facebook group. Try it
yes.
out in the Facebook group, right?
Oh my
Try
gosh.
it
Yeah.
in the Facebook group. Let us see it so that it's a safe environment.
Yes.
And then we will tell you, like, we'll give you feedback on it. And then you can use that. Thing is, when you create the content, you can use it everywhere. Don't forget that. The
Yeah.
30 seconds is you can use it on all your platforms. So just getting you comfortable with stepping outside of your comfort zone and doing something that you think, gosh, this would, if I was listening to me right now, it would make me want to act further. It would want me to find out more, I would want to click that button. I would want to join that class. I would want to engage in whatever that service is, that product is, because gosh, that really spoke to me. So try it out. That's the challenge, right? Try it out in our
Mhm.
Facebook group right here,
Yes.
and we'll give you feedback, and it's safe.
Right. Right. It's a safe place.
Mhm.
So, all right. I love that. And then the final exercise, again, thinking in, do you feel that you have a clear message to convey to your audience? Why or why not? Is it, if you need help, again, go to our community. Or better yet, maybe you should come to Scale for Women live event. Learn about clarity and mindset and how to express your why through your message, how to communicate and connect clearly through how people behave and how your clients behave. And then finally, do you need to spend some time getting clear on your messaging or defining your audience? It's easy to think we know who our audience is because typically we like to think that they are us. But the reality is it may not be us. And I think Glennis was a perfect example of that. Her audience is really 10 to 14-year-olds. And them getting their parents to say, I need to do this. I want to do this. And then, I mean, how many moms are going to say no to their child who comes and says, I want to learn to be a leader. I want to learn how to stop bullying in my school. Oh my gosh. I'd be like, where do we sign you up?
Well, there's so much pressure on kids, right? And the parents can't figure it out for the schools, and the teachers are having problems communicating with the parents. And so, what if you were able to create that messaging, Glennis, that just gave the kids more authority over their
Hmm.
leadership, learning, and capacity? And
Yeah.
man, the parents would just ooze over you, like you are the savior that's helping them be able to understand how to navigate bullies and not have to depend on their teachers to give them confidence and learn those lessons, right? It does all come with self leadership. So I believe in what you're doing, 100,000%.
Mhm.
It's just, when you find this niche of communicating it, it's going to explode.
Right,
It's gonna
exactly.
explode.
Thank you. And yeah, I was just thinking as you both were talking to say that, you know what? It's the four-letter word, right? The four-letter word that I believe in is hope, HOPE. And there are so many other four-letter words that kids use these days that give them no hope, right? So
Mhm.
something like, creating your content to be clever with
Yes.
that. Because so far I've been doing lives, and you're right, sometimes that may not totally resonate with the kids, but doing something fun, doing something creative, and really going to TikTok and seeing, okay, what are some of the things that resonate with the kids, and what is some of the cool stuff that we could use, right? Because it's all about that connection.
Oh,
But
yeah.
for me, for my classes, the most important thing that I'd like to convey is the hope that things could be better. Because I find that the kids are so down, and it's very difficult post COVID, from what I've heard, for them to connect and to have hope. So yeah,
Mhm.
so thank you for this. It really helps me to think from another perspective, because being a 50 plus year woman, you kind of think sometimes differently. But how do you then put yourself into the shoes of your target audience is really it's a really wonderful twist
Mhm.
and a mindset. So thank you, ladies, for actually taking me to that zone, the
Good.
unknown zone.
Well, your
Well, it
heart's
won't
been
be
called.
unknown for long.
Your heart has been called to serve this. So you have to figure out what does the messaging need to look like so that you can connect, right?
Mhm.
Once you get that, it is going to be magic for you.
That's right.
Mhm. So last thing, because I noticed in the chat, somebody said, What? There's going to be a live event?
Yes. Oh my
Oh
gosh.
my gosh. We haven't talked about that at all. So we have 1 minute. So real quickly, Bloomington, Indiana, great little college town. Jess and I both live in Lafayette, which is the home of Purdue. We're going to go down to the IU land and to this boutique hotel called The Graduate. And Melanie and I did recon and surveillance with our husbands in tow. And very cool, unique hotel. And this is just going to be a 1.5 day intensive master class on the biology of scale, which is mindset. So talking about and learning about how to make sure our mindset is in the right place for growth, and then knowing your why. A why assessment is included in the workshop, and then communication and connection, and a DISC assessment will also be included in the workshop for participants. And we're limiting this to only 50 women. So this is the weekend of the 28th, 29th of October. There is a link, I think, Melanie, definitely on our web site,
Scaleforwomen.com, scaleforwomen.com. You can go right there and find all the information. And we're going to continue to talk about this because we're going to introduce a new partner today at 2:30.
Yes, we are.
Excuse me. But oh my COVID. But this is going to be an opportunity for people to really hone down on, when we say intensive masterclass, we're designing this so that it is bring your heart, right? And start to learn how to do things so differently that all of your passion is just going to ooze into getting your messaging down, getting your mindset down, and being able to really communicate and scale everything that you see for Q4 or going into 2023 and getting it really, really clear.
This will be great for anyone who's either building a sales team, who is growing a sales organization, whether it's in direct sales or within a selling industry like real estate, insurance, medical device sales. I mean, everybody sells. If you have a retail store where you are growing that and you're selling something, obviously, and if you can learn better ways to communicate and connect with your people to help them grow as leaders as well, because leaders buy in and they help you grow your business.
Yep.
So we want to grow leaders. As leaders, we want to grow leaders.
That's right.
Well, we are 2 minutes past our time. Want to thank all of you for coming today, and we hope to see you again tomorrow for day 3 of the 4-day challenge on Be Visible.
Be visible. Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
Melanie. Thank you, Shelley.
See you
Thank you.
tomorrow.
Thank you
Good luck
so
with
much.
your homework. And
Bye-bye.
please take advantage of the Facebook group if you need to practice, because that's what this is all about. We are here to support you 1,000%.
We will.
All
Thank you.
right.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a great day.